I think it's safe to say we all love jiu-jitsu for multiple different reasons, but the one reason we all love jiu-jitsu are submissions. But my favorite kind of submissions in jiu-jitsu are submissions with the lapel. So the first submission with the lapel we're going to go over is actually from the back. With this submission here, we're obviously going to do it all the small things from the back correctly, all the small little fundamental details, staying tight with our partner. What we're going to do is we're actually going to look to get out the same side lapel as our choking side. So as I do this, I don't want to make a lot of space, but as I'm here, I'm going to control. You can keep this, the underhooking arm under controlling the cross lapel. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull my lapel out. As I pull my lapel out, I'm going to punch my hand a little high because it's going to pull the skirt, the back part of the gi out. As I get this, I'm going to look to feed this over. As I do this, they're probably going to be hand fighting a little bit. So the biggest thing I hope to do is actually feed it to my support hand, the one that's under the armpit here. As I get this, what I'm going to look to do is I'm going to escape this hand, and I'm going to take my choking hand, I'm going to punch over his neck, and I'm going to feed the lapel thumb up grip over to my choking hand. As I get this, I'm going to pinch my elbow down. Now, you could try to submit here, but it's going to be pretty tough to put them to sleep, and it's not as fun as what it could be. So as we do this, whether I'm on my side or however we have this, but for the sake of demonstrating, we're going to be sitting up just like this. How we finish this one is actually quite simple. I'm actually going to relinquish control with my legs. He's going to try to escape and get out, but as I do this, I'm going to build height. I'm going to shrug my upper body like this. As I bring my upper body up, it's going to get tighter around the neck. And then all we're going to do is we're going to help basically walk the dog here. This next submission is a real fun one. Because we're obviously utilizing the lapel, one of my favorite submissions is actually a loop choke. With a loop choke though, we're obviously going to be controlling the cross collar. We're going to catch our partner's head, and then we're obviously going to be looking to finish. But with this, there's really no use of the lapel. And we all know jiu-jitsu is a lot more fun when we get to use the lapel. So there's a couple different scenarios we could find this with actually a lapel guard while we're playing. We're controlling the lapel going through, but for the sake of demonstrating the technique, we're going to be on our knees here just like this. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a cross collar grip, and similar to how it actually go for a loop choke, we're going to utilize this lapel. So instead of throwing my arm over, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this lapel and I'm going to pull him down like I'm going to go for a loop choke, but I take this lapel, I go over his head like this, and then I bring my elbow around, trapping his head. All we're going to do from here are similar, not the exact same, but similar mechanics with a loop choke. I'm going to flare my wrist into his neck, and I'm going to rotate him through just here like this. This gets really fun when you're in different positions. Like, let's say we're kind of like playing here. I lean, and I loop this lapel all the way around his neck, rotating through, looking for the finish. This submission is called the worm hat. Worm hat. I did not name this one. Keenan Cornelius. So another submission we can actually do with the lapel is actually from the armbar position here. But what I'm not going to do is I'm not going to be arm barring his lapel because that's not going to make Doi tap. At least we don't think. But when I'm doing this here, I obviously want to disconnect my partner's hands, pulling back. We have a lot of different fun ways we can deal and break this grip. One of the ways I really love to break this grip and have very strong creative control, I would say, is utilizing my own lapel. So as I do this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch my arms here. So I'm going to grab my own hand. I'm going to pull it through. I'm going to go elbow joint deep. As I do this, I'm going to pull out the same side lapel. You can do this with either side. I prefer to do it to the side that's of his head here. So as I do this, I'm going to feed the lapel, grabbing a healthy amount of it like this. And then all I'm going to do is as I keep tension and friction, because he's going to be keeping this tight, pulling here, is I'm going to pull this lapel all the way through just like this. Now we're going to adjust our position a little bit so you guys have a little bit of a better angle. But when I have this here, what I want to do is I now want to pull this tight, and I'm going to lean back. As I lean back, I'm going to be pulling my elbow back because it's going to be pulling tension on the actual collar, which is the lapel that's wrapped around through his bicep. So as I do this, I'm going to lean back and I'm going to pull super tight here. Now, once we're here, this won't immediately break his grip, but this is putting insane pressure into his actual elbow joint here and a little bit into the bicep. You're not going to get a tap of like a bicep slicer or something like that, but once I'm here, we're gonna be pulling this super tight. And then as this arm releases and it goes up, I'm pinching my knees. We could catch the wrist, and then we could look to finish from other angles here. Obviously, my biggest preference is always into the hip. This is the best point we can cause the most damage. But with this concept of utilizing the lapel, what I also like to use this from is a turtle position. So go to your hands and knees. Let's angle your head a little bit to the left, Doy. There you go. So as we're here, obviously taking the back is an incredible option, but if we're wanting to have a little bit of fun, we want to get the submission with a lapel. So as I get this, we can obviously threaten the same submission we did in the very beginning, going over the same side shoulder. But there's another fun one to where I can go over the cross shoulder here like this, and then as I'm here, my right hand is actually going to get tight control over this lapel. Now, as I do this, I'm going to be pulling this super tight. There's a handful of ways that we can actually look to finish and set this up, but the basic idea and concept here is that I'm going to pull this tight. I'm going to catch this here. As I go up, I'm going to sit, and I'm going to pull this super tight. He's going to feel a lot of this on his shoulder, but how he's going to feel to alleviate is definitely not rotating this way. This is not going to go so well for Doy. But if he tries to roll back the other way, as we fall, I'm going to pull my elbow high, and it's going to go from tension on the shoulder straight into his elbow joint. Now we're right in the exact same position here. I'm going to pull this up super high, get this hand actually here. I'm going to control his hand. Then we're going to look to finish, obviously always towards the hip here, and look to help Doy get a little bit better flexibility in his elbow. One of my other favorite submissions where I'm utilizing the lapel is actually from the lapel zombie position. This position right here, guys, is super, super strong. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get control over the lapel with my left hand. So my left hand is going to be controlling their left lapel, which is the one to my right. What I'm going to do is I'm going to feed my arm under him as I use my close guard to off balance him up. And then what we're going to do is I'm going to get a thumb up grip just like this. Now, there's a couple small details here that can really help. We're not going to spend a lot of time on them because we're focused on the submission. But from here, he might be able to grab the tail of the actual lapel here, and he might be able to rip the grip up because the weakest part of all of our grips are our fingertips. So when I feed this guy here, Doy, if you would let go, I'm just going to rotate my fingertips towards my partner's thigh. I'm going to control my partner's collar here, and then I'm going to get myself off angle, and I'm going to go for like a K-guard style setup. So as I do this, I'm going to guide Doy's his head away from me. And as I do this, I'm going to bring his knee up onto my chest. My left hand goes up, and I'm going to control his heel. As I control his heel, I'm going to pull it up, but he's going to keep trying to face me a little bit here. So as I pull this, I bring it under my armpit. I sit up, and I catch him here. If his knee keeps pointing at this angle, we have a very strong knee bar setup here. So as I do this, I'm going to lift my hips up, opening my knees, and then as I open my knees here and I'm up like this, I keep control of the lapel, and then I'm going to pinch. As I start to pinch here, my left hand goes back. I'm going to frame on my own hip, pinching my knees and then guiding my hips in here like this. This is a very, very strong knee bar because I'm controlling that lapel, and any type of rotation out they can do and think to defend, it's going to be extremely difficult because this lapel wrapping around their legs is going to keep their chest super tight to their knee. This is one of the most strongest submissions you could do with the actual lapel. If you guys are looking for a lapel guard instructional, check out the link below to where you guys can get access to my full lapel guard instructional with a very strong systematic approach. If you guys are actually looking for a fun way to steal other people's jiu-jitsu, Space Jam style, check out this video right here.